You know him from Hidden Colors. You know him from the FBA movement, from the Hidden History Museum, and for stirring the pot. Generally stirring the pot. He's an author and much, much more. He's here in studio with me. What you might not know is that he has a documentary film out right now, or dropping today. Is it today? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow and the rest of the week.
It's called Mic Check.
Microphone
Check. And it's all focused on hip hop.
Yes.
Welcome, Tariq Nasheed.
Thank you so much, Dominique. How are you, beloved?
I'm blessed. It's great to see you.
Thank you for having me here.
How be you?
I'm good. I'm just glad to be here with you. You are a radio legend.
Thank you very much.
Yes, indeed.
Appreciate that. I see you got your FBA rally shirt on. Rally for Reparations. Wasn't going to start there, but since the shirt is staring at us, you have a rally going on June 15th.
Yes, we have a rally going on June 15th. We have a lot of phenomenal speakers and activists. We have Big Daddy Kane performing there. And we're just going to keep the message of reparations up in the forefront, because we are trying to get tangibles out here for our community.
Big Daddy Kane is a reparationist?
Well, he's performing, so
He gonna be a
it's a
reparationist
Juneteenth celebration too.
Right,
We're celebrating Juneteenth, so it's a fun time. So everybody's coming out to DC on the 15th of June, so it's a phenomenal thing.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to come back. I know you want to talk about hip hop, and we will. But we do every Friday around here. We do Freedman Fridays, and we focus on reparations, because I feel like the momentum is so strong that we have to continuously talk about it, center the conversation, and make sure we're up on all the things that are happening.
Absolutely. We absolutely have to do that, because a lot of times when we talk about reparations, we'll get some pushback and then the energy just kind of dissipates. This time that hasn't happened. There's a lot of people trying to push back, but we're still standing firm and saying, hey, this is what we need. The time is now. We can't keep pushing our tangibles on the back burner.
Absolutely. And I think we are not going to give up this time.
Absolutely.
Just keep pushing the line. So Microphone Check is about hip hop.
Yes.
And as you know, I'm a longtime aficionado of hip hop. I looked at the film last evening. It was interesting to see all of those, real legends, right? The icons who go back to the 70s, even the 60s.
Yes. Yes.
And we're celebrating the 50-year anniversary, but you kind of, in the film, almost dispute the official origin story.
Well, yeah, a lot of the people who were there, there's been a lot of myths and misconceptions just about that party alone. The party that happened in 1973, a lot of people...
DJ Kool Herc.
Yeah, DJ Kool Herc. The narrative is there was a party in 1973 in August at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue. And that party has become very mythical, because everybody and their mama said they were there. And we talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the film they said, hey, some of these people weren't there. This didn't happen, that didn't happen, this happened. So we're just getting the story straight, because with hip-hop there's been so many myths thrown out there. There's never been a definitive story. So we tried to be as definitive as we could in this film. I'm
laughing because I found that out as we're doing the Bay Area Hip Hop Archive and things, that people who weren't even born yet are saying, oh, is that a thing? Wait, weren't you born in 84? Like, how could you be at something in 1963?
Right.
So we'll talk more about that and why, this is controversial, because pretty much everything you do is that.
Yeah.
When we come forward after News, Traffic, and Sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
How's Travis?
I think Travis is good. He'll be in here. Consider, he lost his dad about a month ago.
I'm sorry, I'm going to talk to my brother.
But we're building.
Oh, good.
So KBLA is doing well, so I think that means he's good.
Oh, good.
How's the museum?
Museum is good. Have you been there yet? You got to come by. It's about 5 minutes from here.
Yeah, I know. I was going to come to the opening, but something happened. There's been a lot of family stuff. But I've been reading, different things. So it's thriving. It's still growing.
We're still doing our thing. We have comedy events up there, the poetry readings every now and then. So we're going to do more stuff in the community up there. I got to holler at Travis about just doing something community oriented, as far as promoting and things like that.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll want to do something. So the film is. I saw that you have a nationwide tour, so we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But are you going to stream it?
Yeah, we are. We're gonna have it on. We're gonna have the Blu-ray out pretty soon on Amazon and all that. And I have a streaming site called FBA Stream, so we're gonna have it on there too.
Okay. I'm sure it'll be wildly popular.
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? We got the lovely Dominique here.
Good morning. KBLA Talk 1580. Thank you for coming in.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And it's about to be on because this is really is going to be. I know this is going to spark. Is it already sparking?
Already, yeah. A lot of people are like, "Oh God, what is this? This is. Oh, why are you being divisive? They're calling us divisive because."
Well, I mean, yeah, we can get into that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're right. It's the origins of hip hop to where we are now, and yes, it's natural. Everybody wants to take credit, but you know, people also want their credit if they really were there.
Right, and that's the thing. Who was really there? Because everybody's trying to claim that they were there. So we got to talk about it on the air.
Yeah, we'll save some of it for the air. That's why I'm asking you about other things, because I'm trying to save it for the air.
Yes.
So you just completed this. How long have you been working on it?
We're working for a year. We've been working on it for a year, and it was a labor.
I was surprised to see Shot Rock.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like she doesn't get the love she should
She
get.
doesn't. She's a phenomenal MC, and she really changed the game. She changed the whole cadence of rap. Because a lot of people at the time, they would rap in a baritone voice.
Yeah.
So since she was a girl, she couldn't do that.
And also, like, for someone like me, she emboldened me. I saw Shot Rock, as a youngster, and I'm like, hell yeah, I can be on the mic too. Like, she was killing the game back then. But people don't know. They'll be like, well, who are your inspirations? I will say Shot Rock is one of mine.
Oh yeah, she's the queen of it. She's the first female MC.
But a lot of people are like, who?
Yeah, and that's a shame that they don't know. This is all the Nicki Minaj's and Megan's. This is the one who started it. So you might have to do like a part 2 of this film and just do the West Coast. Yeah, that's what I want to do, because our story is interesting too out here.
Yeah,
it's deep from LA to the Bay. The whole story. So.
Yeah, and I think again, we've been having some conversations here on KBLA about how people put the West Coast origins later than they really are.
Right.
Because if you look at Uncle Jam's Army and other things that were going on here, Watts Prophets and all this stuff, you can go a lot further back with West Coast hip hop than people generally do.
Right. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna let him talk now. And we're talking with Tariq Nasheed. He's in studio with us if you want to tap in on YouTube at KBLA 1580. So the film out now, microphone check.
Yes, be out this week.
It is sort of, you say, telling the origin stories of hip-hop in general as an art form. And you are really establishing the fact that this is a Black American art form. You go as far, and that's not surprising because it's you, to claim it as FBA, Foundational Black American. And some folks have called it divisive. I imagine that's because you take a position that Latinos are not part of the creation of hip-hop.
And because of the 50th anniversary, we've heard this narrative that hip-hop was created by Blacks and Latinos 50-50. And that's a revision of history, because in the early stages of hip-hop, in the origin of it, it was all Black people in the Bronx. And these Black people were folks who came in from the South. Their families came from the South. So they were getting a lot of those funk influences, a lot of the the rhyming and playing the dozens, that kind of influence. At the time, remember, in the late 60s, early 70s, it was Muhammad Ali. These were our icons. He's going around rhyming. You had Dolomite.
Tons of poets.
Right. The Watts Prophets, the Last Poets. So,
Bill's Got Hair in My Dad, you know, and on and on.
Right. So that was the thing.
That was a Black American thing.
That was a Black American thing.
Understood. But the thing is, where does the 50-50 come from? Because I've been hearing a lot of narrative about Latino influence, and I've witnessed it both in New York and here, but I never heard so much the 50-50 thing.
Right. And the thing is, and as you saw in the film, the pioneers said the Latinos came in later and did great things. They with the break-in, they continued it because the first generation B-boys, after a while, they just kind of put breaking to the side and started doing other stuff. But the Latinos came in the late 70s, early 80s, and they kind of revised it. And they get credit for that. But as far as the origin, creating it, all of the elements come from foundational Black American culture. And another narrative was that we were getting things from the Caribbean. And we had to clarify that narrative. We weren't doing Jamaican toasting. We weren't listening to those types of records. Hip-hop was coming from funk records, and we were using the rhymes that we were already doing while we were playing the dozens, and we just put it on wax.
I think, you know, I don't claim to be a hip-hop historian. I'm more like a hip-hop Forrest Gump. I'm always in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing on the right microphone. But I've never said that I'm some expert. But I have seen, you know, in New York and in the Bay Area, I have seen the participation of other cultures. I have seen us listening to reggae and dancehall. I haven't, and I even see the relationship of hip hop to Africa in terms of the call and response, the use of syncopation, the drum, even some of our dance moves. But I don't know that that means that it's Jamaican dance hall as a form.
Yeah, the thing is, when it comes to anything we create, for some reason, there's been this desire to take it out of foundational Black American culture and attribute it to Africa, which, you know, Africa, we have an African lineage.
Well, all people do.
Right.
All people in the world, in the universe do, but...
Right.
But why
hip-hop was cultivated with us here.
Of course, but still, the call and response is for example, is a fundamental African element that has impacted most all world culture. So why is it important to not acknowledge that?
Because there is no African Nas, there is no African Jay-Z. The continuity has to be there at a certain position. The continuity was there with us. We created a certain continuity and did something else with it and made it unique to our ethnogenesis here. So that's why we sound different. We rap different from people in Africa and all of these other places. The swag and the energy is different. We have a different energy because we went through a different traumatic experience and a positive experience as well. But we've had different experiences that has our energy levels different, so we create things differently and put a different flavor on it.
I mean, to me, when you talk, and you do talk about this in the documentary, when you talk about jazz or blues or R&B or hip-hop, you are talking about uniquely Black American art forms. I would not argue that, and I've heard some people doing that, and I think it's, you know, that means they aren't paying attention or they don't know history. But why is it important to subtract others from it?
Because what happens is if we start doing everybody was in the origin of it, what always happens, it gets taken away from us. With jazz created by foundational Black Americans in New Orleans.
AKA Black people.
Right. Then some Italians made a record early on, and then they started claiming jazz came from Italy.
Right, yeah. I mean, I remember reading that history. But the thing about it is, like, as we are all descendants of Africa, or all people, white people, Black people, you know, how far back do you want to go? I understand what you're saying. I feel like, yes, we've had rock and roll ripped off from us. We've had jazz ripped off from us. And we're barely... And when I look around now and I see all these rappers who are not Black, who are taking over the industry, it does give me pause.
Right.
Because I know there was a time they never would have been able to cut it.
And the thing is, again, when we don't gatekeep the culture, when we circle back around to the culture we created, people would treat us like guests in the cultures we created. Like our sister Beyonce. Beyonce did a country album. Right. They're acting like she's a guest in country. Right. That's a foundational Black American genre. But people get this sense of entitlement when we share everything, they say, hey, wait a minute, I've stolen that from you years ago. How dare you come claim it again?
Right.
We don't want that to happen to hip-hop. That's why we're saying, hey, this is where it came from, and this is the definitive story.
But as someone who was there pretty early adopter, whichever the term is, of hip-hop myself, since a little kid, right? And going to see, going to New York. My dad's from Newark, as you know, my mom. And then being in the Bay Area, there's a point in the doc where you say someone says we should have more Asians because they're making all of the electronics.
Yeah, that was another narrative. They were saying that last year.
But Asians in the Bay Area, Asians were there pretty early on as DJs and dancers.
In the 80s, they came in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, they came later. They were students. Yeah, but we're not saying that other people can't participate in it. That's for it's for everybody to participate in. That's fine, but we have to respect the origin of it. We have to respect where it comes from. And then when people try to muddy the waters of the origin of it, they try to say, well, y'all actually black folks, y'all got it from us, so y'all need to thank us for it. And we're not playing that game. We got to tell the truth.
Well, on that I do agree with you. I take issue with that, but I've also seen there is something I've only watched the doc once, so I can't really pinpoint it. But there's a conversation. It might be you saying that if you go to, it is you. In fact, I remember. If you go to a lot of radio stations, music stations now, you'll see nothing but Latinos. You'll see Latinos, DJs, program directors, and no black people, and it's a hip hop station.
You see that a lot.
But those are customers, aren't they?
Well, the thing
because the music they're playing is not exclusively Latino. Most of those records, most of them are black people.
Yeah, right. And out here in LA, you know how the radio stations are.
I do.
You know how it is. The program directors, I don't know any black program directors out here in radio in LA.
Other than the station you're sitting in
right
now.
This one here, and that's why we're here.
And Stevie Wonder's station, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
But the program director there, we won't promote the station. We're not going to promote
my former home.
Yeah,
we
right.
love you, Stevie.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the thing. Like, I've had this conversation so many times. If a Latino station is playing black music, black people are eating off that. If Latinos are buying, black hip-hop, black-owned hip-hop gear, or even making their own, how is that problematic?
Because the thing is, when there has to be a balance in hip-hop, because what happens is when there was a balance, when we had black programmers and black people kind of controlling the sound of it, there was a balance. The peak of hip-hop was 1988. 88 was very important. That's the golden era of hip-hop, 88. Because so many artists in 1988, it was so diverse, and everybody was on code in hip-hop. You had, for a nerd, you could do Kid and Play. If you were a girl, you had Salt and Pepper. If you were a gangster, you had NWA and Eazy-E. You had Heavy D. It was so diverse then. It was a balance, and that was the golden era. There's not a balance now in hip-hop. Right now, we get Sexy Red, Cardi B. I mean, we get the same thing over and over again. It's a cookie-cutter thing. And
in terms of the mass commercial,
right?
Because you still have artists making music,
and you don't have us there saying, "Hey, there needs to be balance." Everything is a one-track stereotype to a certain degree, and those stereotypes fit the sensibility of these program directors.
But did we control it in the golden era? Because we still had record labels that were controlling who gets signed and what they put out. You still had managers.
The artists were on code then, because remember when they had the Grammys, they were going to give rap a Grammy, and they said, we're going to give you guys a Grammy, but we're not going to air it. So all the rappers got together on their own, and they said, hey, we're going to boycott the Grammys. They were on code. At the time in the late 80s, when they tried to say Vanilla Ice was the king of rap, a lot of folks don't remember that. They were saying,
I do.
Yeah, you remember? They were trying to make him the Elvis of rap.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and arguably, people do that with Eminem now.
Right, but back then, they
who
checked
was
that.
produced by Dre,
right.
Who was...
Because Vanilla, he came in on his own.
Lots of black people say he's the greatest.
Mm-hmm. And I like Eminem, but, you can't be the greatest if there's Rakim there, and Nas is there.
And Kendrick.
Right, and Kendrick, exactly.
I'm just saying. Okay, anyway. So, but the real question is, when did we ever control the industry? And who has the ability to put out a record? I understand what you're saying about the solidarity that the example that you're giving there.
Right, because back in the golden era, I think hip-hop was really, a lot of it was dictated by what was happening in the streets. The corporate structure, they didn't have the stranglehold they have on it now, because in the 80s, corporate hip-hop was relatively new. So it was still street control. What went on in the streets, they kind of dictated what went down. That's why hip-hop in the 80s was drug-free. They decidedly said, hey, crack ain't cool. That's why crackers looked down. In the 80s, Dominique, in the 80s,
there were no drug dealers in hip hop.
in the 80s, they talked down on hip hop. Now NWA, even NWA, they weren't really bragging about drugs, or they had a consequence to it.
They might not have put it on their record.
They had a consequence. Okay. No, on record. We're talking about on record. What was promoted? Because Easy and those guys, they didn't talk about drugging up and all of that stuff. Right. They didn't even talk about selling it like that. But if they did, they put a consequence on it. Right. Ice-T, he talked about drug dealers and hustlers, but there was always a consequence to it.
I'm just saying. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, okay. I understand what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying?
You're talking about what's on vinyl.
Right. What they were promoting to the public.
Right.
They had self-destruction and all of that. You understand?
Right.
So, yeah, they were decidedly against crack at the time. Now, drugs are promoted.
Unless they were selling.
They rap about getting high and doing hardcore drugs now. So, and that's because of the corporate structure. They have more control on it, on the genres now.
Talking with Tariq Nasheed. The documentary is called Microphone Check, and it's coming out this week.
Yes.
And you'll be able to find it. There's screenings going across the country.
Yeah, we got screenings all over in select cities. I'm here in LA Thursday at the Fine Arts Theater. Go to microphonecheck.com. It's in San Diego, Oakland, Dallas. It's all over. There's another big premiere in New York, so I'm jet setting all around the country.
And I'm sure they'll be arguing about it on Twitter, but we'll get to that when we come forward. We're talking with Tariq Nasheed on KBLA Talk 1580. Wasn't Eric B like a massive drug dealer?
I don't know. I mean, they would say that.
Please.
What's up, brother? How are you?
For Roger Muhammad.
My man, pleasure.
That's Tavis's producer.
Oh, cool.
Want to walk over here and take a pic with me?
Okay. Oh, you want to take a pic?
You want to do it in the chair, or you want to? Okay, yeah. If you want to grab.
Film us taking a picture. That's cool too. I'm here. I'm here for it.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
I'm gonna take a few.
Check my credit card statements. I check my Medicare statements.
Scammers can't get a hold of your number.
That's right. That's Dominique likes it. Okay, there we go.
You don't work your statement. Check your statement every month.
Let me just get another set.
If you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Cool. Thank
you.
I'll shoot them to you, Dominique.
Appreciate you. He was with Roland Bynum. He was an air personality with not Roland Bynum, Roland Martin.
Oh, really?
And now Tavis doesn't produce.
Oh, good. Have you worked with Roland before?
I have not.
Okay.
Have you?
No. She asked me if I work with Roland guys.
I was. Yeah. I mean, I've seen you guys going at it.
Yeah. God bless Roland. Shout out to Roland Martin.
You know what? Stop. Why you, well, I guess that's what he does. He starts stuff.
Man.
Were you like that as a kid, Tariq Nasheed? Were you a stuff starter as a kid?
Somewhat. And I kind of shake the table.
Do you think that that Dr. Umar is trying to copy your early career by pivoting to relationships?
I don't know. A lot of people started doing the relationship thing. So I don't know. You know, I kind of, you know.
Are you permanently, I mean, is that something you would ever do again?
I would. A lot of people want me to do the relationship stuff again because I started early. I started doing that stuff before a lot of people.
Right.
And so I might get back into that.
3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Y'all can see go to microphonecheck.com. Microphonecheck.com. Y'all see I'm sweating. Dominique got this studio hot as hell.
Sorry, Tavis complains about that
She
too.
ain't sweating at all. I'm up here sweating. She's all glorious and glamorous.
Can you guys turn on the air? Can you turn up the air? Nasheed is suffering like Tavis does. He says that
Thank you, dear.
if I'm his work wife, I like it too doggone hot.
Man.
Doesn't feel hot to me, but I put this trash can under the desk so you can throw that away.
Thank you so much.
He's turning up the air.
Oh, good. But yeah, y'all go to microphonecheck.com, family. The first screening is tomorrow in New Orleans. Microphonecheck.com.
Tariq Nasheed is here in the studio. You know him from the Hidden Colors series. You know him from the FBA movement, from the Hidden History Museum, which is here, actually right down the street in Los Angeles, still going. But now he's got a film, documentary, Microphone Check. It's got a lot of treasures, speaking of hidden treasures.
What did you learn that you didn't know when you saw the film?
From watching the film, I didn't know that the whole story about the equipment, how, you know, who had the ability to do parties and stuff was so based on who had equipment.
Right.
I did not know that that feud between disco
DJs and hip hop
DJs. Because my experience as a kid in New York was you'd see people playing disco and people would be doing the hustle or whatever, and then they'd go to the James Brown and the b-boys would start breaking and stuff. But it wasn't like a conflict the way they had it. It was like different shifts. But I don't think I was in the fancy clubs. I was like, you know. So that was new, and I think it was interesting to hear like people like Lord Jamar talking about their perspective of the relationship between black and brown, actually, too.
Yeah, I think those are very interesting points. A lot of folks don't know that in early hip-hop, they made a distinction between the disco DJs and the hip-hop DJs, and there were disco DJs who rapped, but they still weren't considered hip-hop. Like, you know, DJ Hollywood, he's in the film, and he was a very influential person on rap. A lot of people got their rhyme cadence from him, but they don't really consider him hip-hop because he didn't like all the breaking because he was at upscale parties.
Right.
So he's like, hey, don't bring that breaking in here.
Right.
So they've always said, hey, you're not really, really hip-hop, but he influenced hip-hop. So there's a lot of dichotomies there that we explore in the film.
I like the way that you also give a little hat tip to those of us who are on the mic as radio hosts, because a lot of those early radio hosts did rhyme and they did sort of MC parties and whatever. You know, of course, I did the opposite. I was started as a rapper, and that's how I got into TV and radio. But there's so much crossover in culture.
Yes, indeed.
So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
So when you talk about reclaiming this story, and you're really specific, not just to African American or black, but to FBA, and I think that's another reason people may find it divisive. We in the ongoing conversation about reparations, which we do every Friday around here, the lineage versus legacy is always a conversation, right? And there's this some people are rejecting Pan-Africanism, other people, you know, have their own opinions. My question is this: I feel like there's a lot of value to the specificity that you're talking about. Know who your specific ancestors are, and to giving respect to Black Americans and our unique story and contribution. No problem with that. Why does it require the demonization of immigrants? Why does it require, you know, terms like tether and sort of a rejection or disunity from the broader global Black community? Not to say that we're all the same or that we don't require specificity and credit, but why is animosity part of it?
Well, the thing is, what we do is a response to the animosity, and we call it out, because what has happened is that other groups who come into our circles who are not of our lineage, they have undermined and sabotaged our reparations claims, and that's been a problem. In fact, when they had some of these reparations commissions early on, they would get people like Candace Owens. Candace Owens identifies as being Caribbean. They got another guy named Coleman Hughes who works for one of these little white supremacist think tanks. He's Puerto Rican. But these guys aesthetically look black. And they'll get up here saying,
well, they are. I mean, they are black. They're of African descent.
Right, but they're not foundational black Americans.
Right.
So they don't have an allegiance.
Or black Americans at all.
Right. So they don't have an allegiance to our lineage. And if you don't have an allegiance to the lineage, you'll undermine what you don't really have an allegiance to. See, the white supremacists, they were very strategic in getting certain black people and elevating them in positions over us.
I mean, but we have people that undermine our culture in every community, including foundation. I mean, is Clarence Thomas, does he have allegiance to the culture?
No, but we call our sellouts, we call them out so that they're not out here misrepresenting us. Clarence Thomas don't represent nobody in foundational black American society. He's persona non grata. He can't come in these circles. A person like Jesse Lee Peterson, who's a foundational black American, but this guy is, he thinks he's in the year 1830. Yeah. He's not our representative. So we call those folks out. What happens is you'll get a lot of people who are non-FBA who come in our circles and they'll
talk, Tariq. Your folks came for me once. It can be vitriolic, being called a tether or a bed wench, which
But there's some FBA bed wenches too. So
I mean but isn't that sexist? Is that misogynistic?
No.
It feels like it when someone calls you that.
No, a bed wench. If you're undermining the community because you're laying up with somebody who's putting a bug in your ear about undermining your own community or people who look like you, that's a person who should be ostracized.
What's the male version of a bed wench?
A bed bug. There's bed bugs. There's a lot of bed bugs out here. We call the bed bugs out. We call them out too. Clarence Thomas is a bed bug. We call them all out.
Do you think, and we this will be too, I can't even ask you because I probably don't have time, but I always feel like why are we relinquishing the claim and the riches that are ours to be claimed on the motherland?
Because they're not claiming them on the motherland. Let's keep it a bug. They're getting the hell up out of Africa. They're bouncing from Africa. And we want them to get on code. We've been trying to go over there and build with them. And the brothers and sisters, it's too tribalistic. There's a problem with tribalism over there. They don't have it together. There's not one Africa. You got to have visas and passports to go all over the continent. And the tribalism there, that is a problem. And what happens is a lot of people bring that tribalism over here to us, and we don't really like that. We don't play that game. We try to stay on code. This is why we get stuff done. We can get stuff done because we stay on code. And foundational black Americans, we've stayed on code as black people more than any other group. This is why we've accomplished so much stuff. This is why foundational black Americans, our icons are respected and revered worldwide. We're like one of the few groups that have internationally recognized icons that are respected all over the world.
I do not have time for my follow-up questions to that, so I'm going to leave it right there. Tavis Smiley's up next, and your film is out now.
Yes.
It is microphonecheck.com.
Microphonecheck.com. If you're in LA, come on out to the Fine Arts Theater this Thursday. Come see it. Go to microphonecheck.com. People all over the country at a select theater near you. It's a very, very phenomenal film. You guys are going to learn a lot about hip-hop culture.
Absolutely. Tariq Nasheed, thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much, beloved.
Tavis Smiley is up next. I'm Dominique DePrima. History is now, and we're making it together. Until tomorrow, one love.